This is Jessica Dupree with ThisIsRnB.com, and I have with us today R&B legend Tony Terry, who is interviewing exclusively with us today ahead of the TV One Unsung premiere this upcoming Sunday. Tony Terry, we are so excited to have us with you today. You're an R&B legend. The whole world knows your big hit, When I'm With You. So I want you to talk to us today. Thank you so much for being with us. And I want you to talk to us today about your journey and being a background singer and signing with Epic and having 3 top 10 hits. Tell us about your journey.
Well, I mean, so you want to start at the beginning, huh?
Yes.
You might have to church that cash app for that. No, no, I mean, my story started like, you know, many other R&B singers. It's rooted in gospel music, rooted in the church. And, you know, I spent a lot of time. My grandmother was like a missionary for the church, and my grandfather was a reverend. He was Baptist. She was Church of God in Christ. I don't know how they got along as a couple, but they worked it out. But we were in church every day, literally every day of the week. And so it started there. And I just ventured out, and you know, as things progressed along my journey, next thing that happened seemed like the next reasonable thing that should be happening. You know, like I just showed up, and you know, whatever opportunity presented itself that made sense to do, I did it with the support of my family, of course, my parents.
So you did everything with their blessings and the blessings of your grandparents. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, you end up singing background. You eventually get signed to Epic Records. You released 2 top 10 singles, and then
it didn't quite go like that. Well, okay. So I was hired to sing background. Okay, so I had been in New York. I was in the off-Broadway show "Mama, I Want to Sing."
Wow.
I had auditioned 10 times. 9 times I didn't get it. The 10th time I did.
Okay.
But I had been in the show for a minute, and I was ready. I was probably in one of those slumps. I just wasn't really feeling good about what was going on. And I had pretty much decided that I don't know if I was really gonna make the move, but I had said out loud, I'm gonna go back to TCT. I don't know if it really came down to it, if I really would have done that. But my homeboy was like, no, we going to the club tonight, son. And we went to the club, and literally that spot, which I don't even think is still open, was called the Danceteria, was where it all jumped off. I met Ted Currier, who would be my manager and producer. And my part of my band was the band that was playing that night. They ended up being in my band. And it was the beginning of the journey. It was the beginning.
It was the beginning of the journey.
I thought it was the end, but it was actually the beginning.
The beginning of the journey. So fast forward, you're signed to Epic, you release When I'm With You. What was your reaction to the success of When I'm With You?
Well, I knew With You was special from the very beginning, the very first listen. And, you know, it's tied to someone who, you know, at the time was special. And she is now, still today, a dear friend. But it was written about a young lady that I went to high school with by a friend of mine who had a crush on her, who I didn't know had a crush on her, because she was my girlfriend in my mind. And so That's how that worked out. And really? so there was a special connection to the song as it was written about someone that I cared about.
Okay.
But at that time in my life, I was going through a child custody battle, and I ended up suing my daughter's mother for custody, and you know, the extenuating circumstances suggested that I do that. And I did, and I ended up winning in New York City, and that was kind of unheard of. But so my reason, I thought the song was pure, spiritual, innocent love, God love. And that was my interpretation of it. You know, it means other things to other people, but that's what it was for me, because really a song is very, very simple. And if you if you choose any one of those lines, if a brother chose any one of those lines to try to pick up, a young lady, it wouldn't work because you'd be like, I'm gonna need you to have a couple of seats.
Right.
But because the sentiment was pure and the intent of the song was really genuine, it was just it was a genuine expression of how this young man felt about our mutual girlfriend in our minds.
Oh wow.
And so it just worked out.
What an interesting situation.
Yeah.
And I guess another question would be, you know, you've had your experience with love over the years. Obviously, you're a father. You've been married. So I guess my next question would be, having written.
I am married.
You are married. So having written such an impactful song, what do you know for sure about being in love and keeping the fire burning, and what does it really take to be with someone forever?
Well, it takes someone special to be with someone who's in the entertainment industry, because you have to be a lot of things to a lot of people. And sometimes I have run into young ladies, for example, who have an entire history of us being together, someone I've never seen in my life. You know, I'm talking about, we went to high school, they knew my grandmother in DC. My grandmother never lived in DC. So, you know, I mean, that's happened to me a few times where somebody will have a whole history of I got contacted on Facebook by a young man who was told by his dad that he was my brother and that his dad was my daddy. Now, I look just like my father. So there was never, ever a question about who my daddy was.
Right.
But this young man really believed that I was his brother, because he and what made it stick to him, he said one day he walked past his father's room and he was sitting on the bed holding one of my album covers, weeping. Now, I don't know what that was all about. But I do know this: love requires work. Just like faith requires work. Faith without work is dead. Love without work is dead. And I think that oftentimes we, certainly in our community, we don't take enough time to be okay with ourselves, for ourselves, so that we then could be okay or even great with someone else.
Wow, that's really interesting. And it's so true, it's so relevant. I know in this upcoming documentary, there are a lot of revelations that are coming out. Can you share any of those with us today? It looks like I saw your daughter.
There are no real bombshell situations in this episode. There are some moments that, you know, maybe some people didn't know. It's interesting. We watched it last night here in Atlanta. We did a pre-watch, and I think I saw the final edit, but then last night I saw some things that I don't think that I saw. So maybe I didn't see the final edit and I saw it for the first time last night. And I thought overall that they represented the portion of the story that they were given well, because I didn't tell the whole story, because they ain't pay for the whole story.
Right.
The whole story is an intellectual property that I want to capitalize off for myself and for my family at the right time. You know, when we have interviews like this, we do things like Unsung. We're actually
giving a piece.
With all due respect, we're actually giving our story away.
Right.
When there's value in the story, there's value in your story as much as there's value in my own. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Understood. What do you want your legacy to be? Because right now you're
legacy
legend, but what do you want your
I have never called myself an icon. I have never called myself a legend. I have never, you know, jokingly, like last night, I was like, can I just be the star? But, you know, I don't call myself a star. You know, I am grateful for the team that I have around me. And the legacy would be that we did it together. That would be the legacy, because none of this can happen for any artist by himself. You have to have, and then it's important who the team is, because you could just be paying people that you have no connection with or don't care anything about you, and vice versa. Or you can have a team that, you know, is putting their sweat and their tears and their energy and their creativeness, their whole self into the journey, and you know, with coming up with ideas of things to do. Like this event that my team planned last night was brilliant. It was in a really beautiful place. It was very well attended, and it went off. The only glitch of the night was that initially they couldn't get the video to play with the sound, but outside of that, it was a beautiful night. You know, my son was out. There were lots of celebrities and press and, you know, local who's who here in Atlanta. I couldn't have done that by myself. My legacy is team.
That's such a beautiful legacy, and I know that you still travel. I know that you still perform. So what's next for your career? Any new music coming out?
For my career, I mean, if you say what's next in general, you know, work, and more work.
You still get invited to sing at weddings, right?
Oh yeah, I'm singing at one this coming weekend. I'm working Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and you know, I just take the gigs as they come. I'm working on a new album, of course, that's going to follow up the single. I'm working on a jazz project. You know, maybe a couple of years ago, I starred in a film called Martin, Malcolm, and Me. I played Malcolm X. I grew up with people telling me that I looked like him, but I didn't really see that until I wasn't him. I don't know what's on the horizon. I just say whatever God has for me that I want to be ready.
That is amazing. That is awesome. And we are so grateful to have interviewed today on behalf of This Is R&B. We're excited about the TV One Unsung documentary.
Yes, so am I. Again, even though I've seen it one time, I done forgot some stuff already. I ain't gonna tell you why.
I understand, but the music that you created is truly unforgettable. So I just want to thank you again. This is Jessica Dupree with This Is R&B, interviewing with R&B legend Tony Terry. He says,
"Thank you, Jessica. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
You're welcome.
And your watchers, your listeners. Thank you, guys.
We appreciate you. Thank you as well."